On this episode of the 5P podcast, I, your host, Michael J. Penny, will be discussing how to maintain accountability in a situationally flexible environment. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast or checking out any of the other YouTube videos that I've done out there, or if you've gone to 5paragraph.com and joined the 5P inner circle, then you might know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you who don't, situationally flexible environments, small unit leadership is crucial, absolutely key in order to achieve mission success. So, how do you maintain accountability in a situationally flexible environment? Now, there are a whole lot of companies that are out there that do not make widgets. They aren't the Acme company that knocks out the exact same thing over and over and over again. And there are processes for that. There are management methods for that. And figuring out where the bottlenecks are and what have you. And that's great. But from a general overarching perspective, and I do mean general, from a military point of view, I do mean general. How do you maintain accountability of your people, first and foremost, and then all of the equipment and everything else out there in the environment? Now, let me give you a little bit of a case study on this one, okay? A prime example would be General Electric owning the manufacturing plant in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and also owning NBC, great broadcasting network, whatever you want to call it. But the reason why I say this is because making widgets in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and making television shows requires obviously different skill sets, but making a widget day in and day out, depending on what you're doing. Now, they have R&D departments, and I understand that. There are iterative processes for innovating. I get that. But in a situationally flexible environment like NBC, it's difficult to use the exact same management method as you would in a manufacturing plant down in NBC at their headquarters, New York City. So, and now bear in mind also, I use this case study because it is not only a prime example, it's a real world example, and it's something that I have bared witness to firsthand. So I am simply bringing this to the forefront, right? You have that which you can replicate, and then you have the situationally flexible environments like healthcare, where you have no idea what's going to wind up coming through the door. And we at 5P have worked with the healthcare industry in a variety of capacities. If you want to achieve magnet status, if you want to run your ED, if you want to run your cardiac cath lab, more on the healthcare industry in other videos. But fire, police, a lot of these different situationally flexible environments where the individual has to be highly skilled and trained before they ever set foot on the job, right? Because in those occupations, you're talking about loss of life being a possibility in police and fire and EMT. And for those of you who aren't familiar, we are members of the Heroes Media Group, which focuses on our service-oriented community, first responders, EMT, clergymen, and of course, military veterans, police, fire, rescue. Look up the Heroes Media Group. Be a part of it if you yourself come out of our service community and you would like a voice of your own. Check out Heroes Media Group. So, how do you maintain accountability in a situationally flexible environment? So, during this episode, we're talking about how to use a very simple process. Now, in 5P, we developed this. Okay, so the 5P fragmentary order. Now, if you're not already familiar, then I invite you to join the 5P inner circle. The fragmentary order is used throughout the U.S. military. It's how we plan in the moment. So remember, a lot of us who did not join the military learned planning in two different ways. One is we're going to plan annually. Let's say, for instance, we're going to the annual leadership retreat. Or we're going to plan in an emergent situation. We're going to plan in the middle of an emergency. We need to have some sort of action plan. You could say that the fragmentary order, what we're talking about here, is exactly what you need. Now, why a fragmentary order? Why use those terms? Because you, the leader who wrote out a 5-paragraph business plan based on our military operations order, same structure, everything that we use in the military. Go to 5paragraph.com. You, the leader, filled out your plan to the best of your ability. Now you have set foot outside into the environment, whatever the environment may be, but it requires you going out and engaging, let's say, for instance, in sales. You've put together a plan, but now because that situation, it's flexible, it's fluid, it's moving in front of you, it's developing in front of you, and you've got to issue a very small, in the moment, fragmentary order, which might be a plan that we're going to work off of for the next, could be 5 minutes, could be the next day, could be the next 5 weeks, okay, depending on the shift that you need to make. So a lot of people say, I've constructed a plan, I'm going to go take action. How, when I find something out, a new opportunity, a mistake has been made, I'm trying to change something, how do I change something immediately? How do I amend it so that my people can then move off of this next iteration of the plan very, very quickly? That is the fragmentary order. That's why you go to 5paragraph.com, join the inner circle, you'll get the template, and you'll get the training associated with how to use that fragmentary order. It's very, very simple. It's something that I learned coming up through the military, and a lot of us learned who are military veterans. We learned it when we were 18 years old. All right, when I came into the Marine Corps with 37 Weapons Company out in 29 Palms, what I had to do was review the order, right? Not saying that I was anybody, obviously, but I was issued an order from the division commander, General Mattis. And that was posted in various places, but at least I knew what was expected of me from the general level all the way on down. And that's pretty cool. That's a different level of accountability that a lot of us just haven't experienced before. And it goes up and down the ladder. But in this episode, we're talking about situationally flexible. And situationally flexible is relevant in today's rapid moving workforce. So if you are building something, it's in an iterative sense. Let's say, for instance, you look at software. All right, a lot of folks use the Agile Scrum method. Totally understand why you would want to use that, especially if you're developing software. How about the hardware application? Maybe, for instance, you're using Lean Sigma all the time to find bottlenecks, and I get that, but you're probably using Plan, Do, Check, Act, which was perfected by Edward Stemmings III, originally brought over to Japan post-World War II. America wind up getting its hands back on it and revolutionized how we were manufacturing things. Okay, but to use a coined term by Gifford Pinchot III, intrapreneurs, you leaders who act like entrepreneurs while still using the resources and the backing of your greater overall organization, you intrapreneurs, you need to have a planning method to where you can call upon your hires' greater overall mission, that is to say the greater overall mission of your organization. You build off of that in your own department, in your own specific sector. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you go to 5paragraph.com, go into the inner circle, and you can see what I'm talking about here on the episode. All right, but a fragmentary order is something that is sweet, simple, short, to the point, immediately take action. And those fragmentary orders are going to find their way onto the debrief. And this is absolutely critical. When you issue a fragmentary order and you're going through, and I know because we talk about this all the time, immediately upon completing that action, that is to say the event's wrapped up, your daily work's wrapped up. I have used the analogy or the anecdote of a coffee shop. You would brief a fragmentary order to your people who are working for you at a coffee shop. And then so that's the start of the day. That's your shift. Now you go through. Now, you can't necessarily gauge how many cups of coffee. You can predict based on previous numbers in order to generate some sort of an assumption. Again, something that we talk about in the 5-paragraph business plan, something that we talk about in the inner circle, how to generate an assumption, going off past data in order to generate an assumption to figure out what you're going to do in the future. All right, to add some sort of predictability to it. So you issue a fragmentary order at the beginning of the day. If things change in the middle of the day, in the middle of the shift, you issue another fragmentary order. And that finds its way into your debrief, right? So you've heard me talk about debrief, and if not, check out some of the other videos. Join the inner circle at 5paragraph.com. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But you commit the action and then you debrief. As you're going through your sequence of events in your debrief, right? We started with this fragmentary order. This was the assumption that we made at the beginning of the day. We quickly realized that we sold out of some sort of peppermint flavor or whatever. And so fragmentary order, we're going to switch a greater amount of push, a greater upsell towards our pumpkin whatever. All right, but what you're doing is jockeying things around in the heat of the moment in order to get the most effect out of your crew and to generate the most amount of revenue. If you're in business, you're making money. So think about this, because there are a whole lot of businesses out there that don't make widgets. And you're probably a business leader that works in a situationally flexible environment. You're trying to rise up through the ladder. How are you going to maintain accountability in a chaotic environment? How are you going to do it at a trade show, at a conference? How are you going to plan for the next market rollout or the next product in order to roll it out into the market? So think about this. If you're one of those who is operating in a situationally flexible environment, go ahead, go to 5paragraph.com right now, join the inner circle. You are going to learn the world's greatest management method. This is what the United States military teaches all of us. There are tons of you that have asked me before, how did you lead in that austere environment? I'm a sergeant at heart. I'm a non-commissioned officer at heart. We're the backbone of the United States military. We're the ones that go out and execute as small unit leaders. We're the ones that work in that austere environment right there. We're the ones at the tip of the spear. How do we do it? This is how. Go to 5paragraph.com. It's the world's greatest management method. You'll see for yourself. You will see the results. I know it. All you got to do is apply it. It works if you work it. Go ahead, go to 5paragraph.com. Folks, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing, rating, reviewing the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, all over the place. Thank you for checking out Heroes Media Group, so that way you can see the voices of other people who have served. Thank you so much for being a part of the greater overall 5P community. And until next time, take care and be well.